Hello everybody, this is AG here, and welcome to the Richmond Raceway. We are here for the 29th race of the season tomorrow at noon Eastern Time. Right here on AG, the channel. It's the last short track of the season. Only 4 races remain until we crown a champion in the 2025 Wawa Cup Series. And only 4 more races left with uncharted qualifying, as we'll be getting rid of it next year, but bringing in the Wawa National Series, which we'll see a lot of these guys in. Zayden Davidson may be in a full-time cup ride next year, and we got a lot going on in terms of that uncharted championship. The last week at Watkins Glen, we saw the 0-0 of Zayden Davidson find himself ahead of Darian Arnsdorf in the points by 2 points with 4 races left to go, and whoever ends up being higher in the championship standings between all of the uncharted drivers, but realistically between Davidson and Arnsdorf, though Carson Miller still has a mathematical chance at this. They're going to get a full-time reserve for a full-time ride on the Wawa Cup Series next season, and that's going to go a long way in terms of those drivers' career. But all the other drivers who have done the ratings enough, of course, have met the ratings threshold, they'll get reserves for the Wawa National Series next year, which will be a lot like the Wawa Cup Series, so y'all are going to have fun with that one. Caleb's going to do an excellent job with that. And speaking of Caleb, congratulations to him once again on getting that owner's win with Trey Wright driving the hot seat. Trey Wright is not attempting this race. He's probably still celebrating that Lake Effect Ice Cream 400 win. Carson Miller in the 50 machine here, trying to still have a shot at being the best of the uncharted drivers. He's done an excellent job this season, and intrigued to see what he does in trucks. I know I keep saying that. And he's going to find himself in a good ride, whether it be Cup or National next year. There's Darian Arnsdorf in the 11 machine, J.R. Ribbleton in the 82. Of course, with this being a short track, we're going to see some different faces up front in this race compared to what we've been used to seeing. So this could turn things around in the championship, which we'll get to that in a moment. Duncan Ward and Daniel Paulus Jr., a 20-point lead for Duncan Ward. This is one of the largest point leads we have actually had with 4 races left to go, but still a lot can happen between now and the finish of the season. Our hot seaters for this week, number 14 is Skep Silver. There's the winning car from last week, number 90. That's Henry Brown driving the 90 machine this weekend here at the Richmond Raceway. The next one is the 42. That is Nicholas Cameron for Racing Motorsports. And then Marcus Glitch is back in the number 91 for Evans Ross Racing. Of course, top 5 fastest advance on, the highest hot seat driver. If a hot seat driver is already in the top 5, then it's the 6th place driver in the standings. And right now, as we have had pretty much all season, we got a hot seat driver in the top 6 right now. And that is the number 91 of Marcus Glitch, who's got a good time. We also got Eric Monaco up there. Jared Martin in the 96 machine as well, currently inside the top 5. And you have Zayden Davidson, who's got the fastest time in the number 00. And Darian Arnsdorf, who's 11th. And that is not good for Arnsdorf, who's trying. Well, there we go. He just made it in. Campbell, almost said Campbell Marsh. Skep Silver's in the 14th week. Skep Silver in there. And Hallie Anderson Jr. now with the last spot. And Jared Martin taking it back away in the number 96 machine. Good run there for Jared Martin. And NS Racing here from Richmond. We'll see if that translates to their full-time cars. For Travis Crampton's 89 points behind. But a lot of these guys will still have to get a race victory before the season runs out. Especially someone like Ladovic Trett or Travis Crampton, who are going to be team owners next season in the Wawa Cup Series. They would love to get one more win as an owner before the season closes out. Now you got Marcus Glitch in the last spot right now. Of course, the highest hot seater is guaranteed into the race regardless of the position they are in. Carson Miller is fastest in the number 50 machine right now. And then you got Darian Arnsdorf, Zayden Davidson. So the top 3 of those hot seater, or the uncharted drivers from this season, are in those positions. Hallie Anderson Jr. is 4th. Number 91 there, Marcus Glitch. And then there's the 90. How about Henry Brown? Appalachian Motorsports seems to have some pretty fast cars here today at the Richmond Raceway. That is played in the favor of both Carson Miller and Henry Brown. But Arnsdorf now with the fastest time in the number 11 machine. Good luck for Arnsdorf here at the Richmond Raceway. Under 22 seconds for there. These guys go pretty fast around here. A lot of grip on this racetrack, and with that, we're actually not going to see significant tire wear, which makes this a very unique race in that regard, because it may actually make it a bit easier to pass if you got a better car than the car ahead of you. I got two hot seaters right now, and that is Skip Silver and Henry Brown. Last car in right now, Haley Anderson Jr. in the 92. She is not on the racetrack currently. Got the 00 there, just hanging on now. He's in 5th right now in that Team Williams machine. Of course, Team Williams trying to get the overall Wawa Cup Series Championship, the Owners' Championship, and the Uncharted Championship with Zane Davison right here. And holding on to it just barely for the time being. Tough break for Eric Monaco, 45, not really getting an opportunity again. And he's had a lot of strong runs in the races he's been in, but just hasn't been able to qualify for these races. I know we were expecting Monaco, if he's in next week's race at Daytona, to have a very good shot at the Valvoline 400. But he's got to make it into that race, and he didn't make it into this one, so we'll see. Darian Arnsdorf, Carson Miller, Skep Silver, Henry Brown, Zayden Davison, and Hallie Anderson Jr. will be in the Southern States 400 tomorrow at noon Eastern Time. Let's move on to Group A here from the Richmond Raceway and see who makes it into the Fast Six. And here we go for Group A from the Richmond Raceway. Should be quite interesting. I would like to point out, you may notice that in these practice sessions, or these qualifying sessions, they are practice sessions in the game, of course, that we got some pit stalls that are in the back here, when normally they just go first to 42nd in order on the pit lane for most of these tracks. You may remember races past, and Matthew Hubert, I don't want to, remind Matthew Hubert about this, but you may remember races past where pit stalls roughly 7 through 10 have some sort of an issue where the cars stay on the pit lane longer than they need to under a caution. So what we did is we moved the qualifiers, which would be 6th through 10th, back to these pit stalls. There's no issue with these back here. And then those who had an issue, or those who qualify in the back of the field for this race, will get those pit stalls. So you do not want to qualify in the back of the field for this race. Trying to explain that, there were a couple tracks going into the season, Las Vegas, Chicagoland, this one, that had pit stalls that didn't work. And it was only one or two or a few of them. And hopefully our attempts to fix that will end up working out for tomorrow's race, and whoever qualifies in those prime positions in the top 10 will not have any issues in the race on the pit lane. Here's Group A. We got a 20-point lead between Duncan Ward and Daniel Paulus Jr. 28 points behind is Isaac Nichols, and then 35 behind is Kirsten Bell. 4 races left to go. Realistically, it's going to either be one of those 3, and realistically, Duncan Ward has the best chance of winning this championship. We'll have to see how he does in this race going into Daytona, which is a huge wild card, of course. And then you got Homestead and Darlington to end the season, which are 2 tracks that Duncan Ward has done very well at. He won Darlington back in April, but Paulus finished runner-up at the Homestead race in the Wawa 400 earlier this season, so we'll see how it works out for him. But all I know is that right now we got the number 32 at the top of the board, Blaine Keys, in the Pacific Racing Machine. Blaine Keys is the defending winner of this race here at Richmond Raceway, dominated this thing last year, and if he gets a good starting position, I could see him dominating once again in that 32 machine. Duncan Ward, though, still in prime position to make the Fast Six, and that is a huge deal. But if you're Duncan Ward, you don't necessarily want to start on the outside lane for this race. You can still rebound, but we're just going to have to see if he does end it with a good run here. Because if he just has a good race and finishes ahead of Paulus, then he's going to go into Daytona with a very good advantage. Just got knocked out, though. And he is currently not advanced. No, never mind. He just advanced his time right there. A little bit of a delay there. It's Duncan Ward, Blaine Keys, and Matthew Hubert now, the top 3. And Duncan Ward there, 22.037 in that 23 machine. Lauren Chung has just gone to the top of the board. She's not had the best of championship runs here in the chase so far. Isaac Nichols has jumped to 3rd. But Lauren Chung with the fastest time so far. And Duncan Ward continues to get faster and faster. A racetrack such as this, the tires warm up and these guys improve their times as the session goes along. Now, it's funny, Duncan Ward won all those poles earlier in the season, has not won a pole since spring. But He is currently the points leader, had a great run at Watkins Glen. Should have won Watkins Glen, if we're being honest, but Trey Wright decided to stay out and mess with things there, so Duncan Ward did lose a few points in that exchange, but regardless of the fact he left Watkins Glen with a 20-point lead, and I believe I mentioned this earlier on, that is the largest point lead that we have seen at this point in the season, 4 races left to go. I don't think Drew Webb had that lead in 2023, and I know last year we had probably 6 or 7 guys within 20 points of the points lead, so while last year was much more competitive, Duncan Ward has just been the most consistent driver all season long in this 23, and he has earned this rightful place in the championship at the current moment. We got the 95 of Logan Williams in 4th. That would be a 7th place start for Logan Williams if that holds on. Not mentioned Brad Stover in the 78 machine, currently in the Fast 6. A lot of speed in the 78 machine. We have not seen any speed out of Brad Stover all season. Of course, his teammate Andrew Miller in the chase has been up front a lot more this season than he has, but it's looking pretty good for Brad Stover. The time's going to run out here very shortly, and that will end up doing it for these guys. Other chase drivers in this session. Oh, Brad just got knocked out by Logan. Logan Williams up to the 2nd position. It's good job there out of Logan Williams, who's been very good this season. Even though he's not gotten the race victory, this has been his best season overall so far. And the Appalachian Motorsports, only 4 races left to go for him here in the Wawa Cup Series. I know that Logan would love to get one more for his team owner, Caleb Rose. Logan, of course, the winningest driver on that team. The time has officially run out. At this point, I don't think we're going to see any change right here. Looks like that is how it's going to stay with Duncan Ward, Logan Williams, Lord Chung, the Fast 6. You also got the 78 of Brad Stover looking to start in the 7th position, which that's going to be a pretty good place for him right there. Isaac Nichols, Leonard Kochmer, Blaine Keys, Matthew Hubert, Tanner Pardon, and Avery Alford are the top 10 in the session. So Brad Stover will start 7th. Isaac Nichols, chase driver, will start in 9th. Leonard Kochmer will start 11th. Blaine Keys will start 13th. Matthew Hubert will start 15th. Tanner Parton will start in the 17th position. Avery Alford, chase driver, will start 19th. Zane Davidson will start 11th. Will start 21st. Bryce Egan will start 23rd. Drew Webb will start 25th. Brian Webb will start 27th. Justin Zeidel will start 29th. Skep Silver will start 31st. Trey Barcho will start 33rd. Roel Dorn will start 35th. Darian Arnsdorf is going to start further back than Zane Davidson. That's big for the uncharted uncharted points battle. Arnsdorf will be starting in 37th. Jack Haas will be starting 39th, and LJ Semedo will be starting in the 41st position. Jack Haas did not have a good lap in this one. 7th in points, and he's all the way in the back of the field. And like I mentioned, you don't want to start deep in the field because you're going to end up with one of those bad pit stalls, and that's exactly what Jack Haas has put himself in right there. That is not where you want to be. But you can't be doing that in qualifying at this point in the season and expect to win a championship, unfortunately, and that's what happened to Jack Haas there. But Duncan Ward, Logan Williams, Lord Chung, they're on to the Fast 6. Let's see who joins them in Group B. And here we go for Group B. You see Daniel Paulus Jr. right there already in the 54 machine, 2nd in the points standings. He is not happy that Duncan Ward made it into the Fast 6. But he does have an opportunity, of course, at beating him in qualifying and having a chance at the pole position for this race. And starting up front, that's going to be a big deal for this event. With it being a short track, it's going to be difficult to make those passes and move through the field. But if you have a good enough car and you're a good enough driver, you can do it. It's not like a regular next-gen race where you can't actually pass on the short tracks because there's just too much downforce. We're fine. You know, if you can pass, you can make it work. It's difficult, but I like to have some races where it is difficult and you have to work for it, and that's what we're going to get in tomorrow's event. And then you get Daytona, which is just a complete wild card. You got Homestead and Darlington, which are your traditional speedways. And it's the last short track of the season, so the opportunity for some of these guys to get one last race victory this year. Of course, Ladovich Red, a 2-time winner this season. He's 61 points behind. Of course, Dover and Iowa did not help her case. She'd be up there in that championship fight if it were not for those 2 races. Solid run in Watkins Glen last week. Got a top 5 in that one. Same cannot be said for Paulus, who finished outside the top 20. And it was kind of just a natural run in that case as well. He did not have a good run in Watkins Glen, and he now finds himself 20 points off of Duncan Ward in this championship fight. We'll just have to see if Paulus can, in fact, rebound here at Richmond. Of course, a race victory would help him out, get him a bit closer. Have a shot at Daytona to close back in, and then, of course, Homestead and Darlington may favor Paulus over Duncan Ward, even though Duncan Ward did win Darlington earlier this season. Paulus is fastest right now, but all the times they made it into the Fast 6 in a round, or Group A, I should say, they were all under 22 seconds, so definitely want to make sure you get under that 22-second mark if you're going to have a shot at the Fast 6 here. I believe that's going to stay the same. Crampton up to second right now. Of course, these guys wind them up. They get faster as these laps go along, which is going to make the Fast 6 a little interesting because you only get that one lap in, so you only have the time to be at your fastest for that time you need to be fastest. Bruno Diacomo in the 24. We'll see where he ends up next year. Yeah, silly season's going to start after the season this year. We're not going to announce anything until the season is complete, but I know that there are already things being made behind the scenes for a lot of these teams, and I'll tell you what, it's going to be very, very silly, and whoa, it got real silly right there with Paulus and Fitzwater. And not that wrecking and qualifying is the worst thing, but these sessions are so short, if you don't get a lap time in, you get wrecked down, you may not even get a lap in to begin with, and as I mentioned, you now want to be starting in the back of the field for this race because you get those bad pit stalls, and Paulus doesn't have to worry about that since he's currently the fastest, but still, Fitzwater not going to be too happy with Paulus after that one because he almost just got completely taken out by the 54 machine. Ledovic's up to the top of the board. And then Nicholas Samedeo there in the 4th position right now. Good run for him. Of course, his teammate Logan Williams is in the Fast 6. Appalachian Motorsports as a whole has kind of found their stride a little bit. Of course, they won last week with Trey Wright in the hot seat, but they've found a lot of speed compared to what they were doing at the beginning of the season. Crampton there in 3rd right now, looking to make the Fast 6 with Paulus and Charette. Of course, Paulus and Charette have just been lights out in qualifying the past 10, 11, 12 weeks. Maybe not as much at Watkins Glen. Andrew Miller going to take that spot away from Crampton. And we saw Brad Stover get 4th overall in the first group. And Andrew Miller, well, he just got bumped back out by Travis Crampton in the number 98 machine. Who's now back in that 3rd position, and Paulus is under 22 seconds. Ladovic Charette holding on to the last spot there. Nathan Smith is 4th. Iowa winner, Nathan Smith. This is a very different racetrack than Iowa. The radius around here is much tighter than it is at the Iowa Speedway, and these guys do not slide around as much. It's been more of a track position race. Kirsten Bell just knocked out Travis Crampton, and Bell is now inside the top 3. Of course, her teammate, Jack Haas, is going to be starting deep in the field for tomorrow's race. Did not get a good lap time in Group A. Kirsten Bell's got a good lap time here in the 93, and she's actually going to improve on that. And now Ladovic Charette's on the bubble in the 51 machine. But all these guys have been out a bit too long on their tires to really get those lap times up to where they need to be. Hopefully we're going to see much improvement in many of these guys at this point in the session, though. Kirsten Bell definitely found some improvement right there on that 93. Up to the 2nd position, but looking like Ladovic Charette and Paulus are going to both be in the Fast 6 once again. We've seen a lot of that out of those drivers this season, and Andrew Miller just knocked out Ladovic Charette, you know? I mean, I keep referencing what he said at the end of the Thanksgiving 500 last year, but, you know, you all know he's coming after Blaine Keys, which, you know, he will finish ahead of Blaine Keys in the championship standings regardless of the fact, though, if this were a full season, Blaine, I think, would be ahead. He also said, and Ladovic, too. Well, you just got Ladovic right there, right at the end. He did what he did last week at Watkins Glen in qualifying as well. Got that fast time right at the end of the session, and he's going to be going for the pole here from Richmond Raceway. And Ladovic Charette is going to be starting in the 8th position in the 51. But Paulus is in, Kirsten Bell is in, and Andrew Miller going to join Duncan Ward, Logan Williams, and Laura Chung for the pole. All those guys are chasers, so the chase drivers showing up. As a matter of fact, all 6 of the chase drivers in this session are top 6. in this session. So Nathan Smith, Travis Crampton, Ludovic Strat, all chasers. Ludovic's going to start in 8th. Travis Crampton's going to start in 10th. Nathan Smith is going to start 12th. Carson Miller going to start 14th. Allie Anderson Jr. going to start in 16th. How about those hot seaters right there? You got the chase drivers and you got the uncharted drivers. Then you got Bernardo de Oliveira there in 18th. Nicholas Amadeo will start 20th. He is ahead of Brain Perez in points, so Brain Perez will start 22nd. Alex Amatali will start 24th. Thomas Troxel will start 26th. Angel Gutierrez will start 28th. Bruno Diacomo will start in the 30th position. Philip Torres will start 32nd. Zachary Fitzwater will start 34th. Roberto Crown Jr. will start 36th. Christian Master will start 38th. Henry Brown will start 40th. And Jesse Turner will start in the 42nd position. Let's go on to the Fast 6 and see what Andrew Miller does on his fast time here at the Richmond Raceway. And here we go for the Fast 6 from Richmond Raceway. Andrew Miller once again making a Fast 6. He actually made the Fast 6 last week at Watkins Glen as well. He's qualified very well, even though he is the last driver in the chase. I will say, I think of all the chases that we've had, he's been the best last driver in the chase that we've had in the 3 seasons of the Wawa Cup Series. I think he's done an excellent job regardless. He seems to be qualifying very well and running up front. It's just unfortunate things happen that take him out of contention. But there's a lot of speed in the Durrani cars this weekend because we saw Brad Stover. He'll be starting in 7th tomorrow in the 78 machine, and he hasn't had speed all year. Andrew Miller's going to go to the top of the board, or on the board, 22.514 for the first lap here in the Fast 6 from Richmond. Laura Chung next in line in the number 20 machine. She's also kind of had a tough run in the chase so far. 1 win on the season came at Bristol, which was a short track, but she's got some speed in this 20 machine here on this short track at Richmond Raceway. And we'll have to see if she can beat Andrew Miller's time, 22.514, set by Miller in the 86 machine. And Laura Chung's had a couple of runs this season, especially during the chase, that have not helped her out at all in terms of the championship. And fortunately, she's pretty much out of it at this point, but still an opportunity to get her second win in the Wawa Cup Series, and we'll have to see if she can, in fact, pull it off here. She's going to go 22.677, so not fast enough to beat Andrew Miller's time. Let's see how the rest of these times stack up here in the Fast 6 from Richmond. Kirsten Bell in the Fast 6. Very big difference between the two Evans Ross racing cars. Jack Haas going to be starting all the way back in 39th for tomorrow's race. Kirsten Bell may end up starting on the pole. Needs to beat 22.514, set by Andrew Miller. And Kirsten Bell is still in championship contention as well. If things get a little crazy up front with this race maybe and Daytona next week, she could very much have a shot at being in championship contention once we get to Darlington in 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks from now we'll be at Darlington for the finale. We're almost there. 4 races in the season. That's a 6.98. These guys keep going slower, and Andrew Miller's still quickest here in the Fast 6. And then we got Logan Williams here in the number 95 for Appalachian Motorsports, who won last week with Trey Wright. Logan Williams, of course, chase driver, is yet to win a race this season here in the Wawa Cup Series. 3-time winner in the series and the winningest driver there for the Appalachian Motorsports team. The team as a whole have 7 wins. Logan Williams, Sam Oskin, Alexander Rowe, Trey Wright, and Nicholas Amadeo. The latter 4 all only have 1 win with the team, which sadly will be closing, but for good reason. For good reason. You get the Wawa National Series in return. 22.514. That was the time that Logan Williams needs to beat to get to Andrew Miller, who still has the fastest time here, and he is going to obliterate that. 22.373 for Logan Williams in the 95. And we got Daniel Paulus Jr. next in line in the 54. 20 points behind Duncan Ward, who is going to go out after Paulus here in this session. Of course, keep in mind, you get a bonus point for winning the pole for these races, so every point's going to matter in Paulus's fight to get back to the 23 in the standings. Just have to see. The only GRT car in the Fast 6 this weekend. None of the others made it in. So Paulus, who is, of course, the highest driver in points of the Grattan Racing Technologies teams, finds himself in a good position, at least in terms of where he'll start for tomorrow's race. He's just hoping gets a good spot, maybe on that inside lane. We'll see how it works out for him. He's going to go 5.45. That is third quickest, so it's either going to be Logan Williams or Duncan Ward winning the pole here from Richmond Raceway. And here we go, Duncan Ward in the number 23, our points leader by 20 points on Daniel Paulus Jr. It will remain at least 20 points after today, and maybe 21 if Duncan Ward can beat the 22.373 set by Logan Williams. Of course, Duncan Ward has been lights out in so many of these races as of late, at least in regards to his fellow championship contenders. Only one win in the chase so far, and that was Road America, but he arguably could have gotten that win last week at Watkins Glen. We'll see what he does here. Not enough to win the pole. That's a 4.38, and Logan Williams is your pole sitter for the Southern States 400 here from Richmond Raceway. And there you have it, here from Richmond Raceway, Logan Williams. Is that his first pole of the season? Let me take a look at that real quick. I don't know if he has started on a pole. That's his second pole of the season. He has won one before. That's his second of the season. And he'll lead us off to the green flag in tomorrow's Southern States 400 here from the Richmond Raceway. Alongside Duncan Ward there in row number 1. Row number 2, we'll see Andrew Miller and Daniel Paulus Jr. Row 3 will be Laura Shung and Kirsten Bell. Row number 4 will be Brad Stover and Ladovic Charette. Row 5, Isaac Nichols and Travis Crampton. Row 6, Leonard Kochmer and Nathan Smith. Row 7, Blaine Keys and Carson Miller. Row 8, Matthew Huber and Hallie Anderson Jr. Row 9, Tanner Parton and Bernardo de Oliveira. Row 10, Avery Alford, Nicholas Samadeo. Row 11, Zayden Davidson and Nicholas Samadeo. Row 11, Zayden Davidson and Braden Perez. Row 12 is Bryce Egan and Alex Amitali. Row 13, Drew Webb and Thomas Troxel. Row 14, Brian Webb and Angel Gutierrez. Row 15, Justin Zidell and Bruno Diacomo. Row 16, Skep Silver, Philip Torres. Row 17, Trey Bartow, Zachary Fitzwater. Row 18, Roeldor and Roberto Crown Jr. Row 19, Darian Arnsdorf and Christian Master. Row 20, Jack Haas and Henry Brown. And row 21, LJ Sameto and Jesse Turner. Going to be a fun race tomorrow, noon Eastern time, right here from the Richmond Raceway. 100 laps of action here for the last short track race of the season. And Logan Williams going to be leading us off to the green flag. Should be a lot of fun. Could get very interesting, especially if Paulus can find himself closer to the Duncan Ward than to his back bumper. It could be a lot tighter in the points going into Daytona if things go a certain way tomorrow. But hey, that's all I've got for you today. Check out IndyCar later tonight here from Richmond. Their penultimate race of the season, and that could get very interesting because I know they got a really tight points battle over there. So tune in and enjoy that later this evening here from the Richmond Raceway. Thank you guys so much for watching once again. Congratulations to Logan Williams on his pole position, and I will see you guys later.